This is Randy May. Welcome to my channel. If you would do me a favor and hit the subscribe button, I would really appreciate it. If you would give it a thumbs up and share it with someone, this is the only way I can get Facebook to push it out in their algorithm is to get the subscribers. We're going to be talking today about get out of the boat. And we're going to give you a passage, a verse that you probably learned in Sunday school. You've known since you was a child, but hopefully you get something out of this. And we're going to be dealing in Matthew chapter 4, verses 22. And immediately he made the disciples get into the boat and go ahead of him to the other side while he sent the crowds away. After he had sent the crowds away, he went up on the mountain by himself to pray. And when it was evening, he was there alone. But the boat was already a long distance from land, battered by the waves and the wind. It was contrary. And in the fourth watch of the night he came to them walking on the sea. When the disciples saw him walking on the sea, they were terrified and said, "It is a ghost." And then they cried in fear. That would freak you out, wouldn't it, if you see somebody walking on the water? But immediately Jesus spoke to them, saying, "Take courage. It is I. Do not be afraid." And Peter said to him, "Lord, if it is you, command me to come to you on the water." And he said, "Come." And Peter got out of the boat and walked on the water and came towards Jesus. We're going to stop right there. Get out of the boat. All right? A lot of people criticize Peter. Oh, well, he got his eyes off the Lord and he sank. Well, he sank and the Lord had to help him and all that. Look at all the other people in the boat. They never even got out of the boat. We got a lot of people today that are in their spiritual boat and they won't step out. When everyone was upset and got into the storm, Peter was the one who said, "Lord, can I come to you?" Ask him, bid me to get out of the boat. I know what you're thinking. Peter sank into the water. I understand that. But he did get out of the boat. That's more than what most people would do. If you want to get to the next level that God has for you spiritually, if you want to get to the next level that God wants you to be at, then you've got to get out of the boat. You've got to trust the Lord. All right? You've got to trust God and get out of the boat. Some people would rather sit around and gripe and complain and not get out of the boat. And all they do is complain. I never get to do anything. I never get to, well, you make it happen, all right? You know, when I was a young man starting out preaching, I called pastors. I tell them who I was. Most of them knew me. I didn't call too many people I didn't know when I first started out. And I told them I've just started preaching a couple of months ago. I'd like to preach, whatever, youth rally, whatever. And a lot of them said, "Well, yeah, hey, no problem. We'll book you." And then I preached there, and then I preach here, and I preach there. And after I preached at 8 or 10 different churches all over the St. Louis area, and the reason I say St. Louis area is within a 50-mile radius of the Arch in St. Louis, there's 3.1 million people, all right? And all you do is drive over the bridge, and you're in Illinois, all right? So I probably preached in Illinois more than I did in Missouri. But I preached all over the place, and I started getting preachers to call me and say, "Would you come to my church and preach? I want to book you to come. Pastor so-and-so told me you come," and it seemed like he had a good service, and I have a lot of people in my church in their 20s and 30s. You're in your 20s, and I think you would connect with our people and all that. And I started preaching more and more and more and getting more referrals and everything. Well, how did I get it? I stepped out of the boat. You don't think I was nervous the first pastor I called and said, "Could I come to your church and preach?" The first 3 I called said, "No, not at this time. Maybe when you get a little more experience." "No, not this time. I'm booked up pretty good." And, you can tell they're putting you off. But finally, the fourth guy I called said, "Randy, that'd be good. Matter of fact, we're having a youth rally in 3 weeks on a Friday night. Would you be interested? It's 4 churches are getting together. We're having a big youth rally. And we're going to have adults there too to supervise them. I think we'll have a good turnout. And I went and I preached. That was the first time I preached outside my dad and mother's church was at that rally, and there was probably 120 people there that were all teenagers, and probably another 15 or 20 adults sitting there. And that was my first opportunity to preach outside our own church. But I would have never got it if I hadn't stepped out of the boat. What holds a lot of people back from doing things for the Lord is they're afraid to step out of the boat. They're afraid of failure. They're afraid that they're going to fail. Well, you're going to fail in life more than you succeed. I know people don't like to hear that, but you are. You're going to fail more times than you succeed. Well, let me give you a good example. I did a family tree. We had a family tree book that my aunt put together in 1959, but it hadn't been expanded on. So now we have the internet. And I used to have to write the North Carolina to get records and write Illinois to get records for my family and put our tree up more up to date. And I went on there, and there's a lady here, and it branches out like that and comes straight down. Right next to me, above me, is this guy's dad and my dad. Right below them is their two sons, me and Babe Ruth. Babe Ruth was in my family. I never knew it. You know, I've been a diehard Cardinals fan my entire life, and I had a Yankee there that I didn't know about. Funny thing was, I wore number 3 when I played on 3 or 4 softball teams. I wore number 3 on 2 baseball teams I played on. I wore number 3 in basketball when I played in high school. I wore number 3. I had no idea. Babe Ruth wore 3. So I thought that was kind of ironic. But I got a thing on the wall, and this is what Babe Ruth, this was his saying. It says, never let fear of striking out get in your way. That's what he wrote. Never let the fear of striking out get in your way. If you're playing baseball, someone that hits 300 is considered a real good hitter. Anybody hits 325 and above is considered an elite hitter. Stan Musial played 22 years, and he hit 331 lifetime average. 331. You have some teams, they were not one guy on the team hits 300, but you're considered a good hitter. What does that mean? It means 7 times out of 10 you fail to get a hit. 7 times you make an out. For every 3 times you go to the plate, you make 7 outs. You're only succeeding 30% of the time. You're going to fail more than you succeed. If you teach your children anything, you need to teach them that you're never going to get anywhere in life if you're afraid of failure. You're never going to get anywhere in life if you don't step out of the boat once in a while and move out and make it happen. Do something, all right? You have to step out of the boat. You have to get out of your comfort zone in order for God to be able to use you and move you along. You can't be glued to the chair and afraid. You can't be afraid to get up, pick up the phone and call people. And like I did, I called and, I got a lot of turn downs. But guess what? Within a year, I hardly ever called anybody. I was getting calls all the time. One Saturday night I get a call and the pastor says, hey, can you do me a favor? So what's that? He goes, I'm getting ready to leave for Arkansas. Can you take care of my church tomorrow, Sunday morning, Sunday night? My father-in-law just passed away. I said, oh, okay, sure, I'll be there. He goes, I appreciate it. I know you'll take care of everything. I don't worry about it. Just take care of it. And they're going to pay you. I said, I'm not worried about that. I'll take care of it. And he said, all right. And then I have pastors call me, Randy, I'm going deer hunting in 3 months, the first 2 weeks of November. Would you preach for me? I'm going to be gone. I'm going to be hunting deer. Okay, I'll take care of your church. And then he told me after it was done, the people really enjoyed it. You did a good job like you always do. From now on, just put me down for the first 2 Sundays in November, and I don't have to worry about it. Take care of my church, and I started building a rapport that way. But I failed more than I succeeded in calling ministers, because a lot of ministers, I have to pray about it, I have to think it over. I'm not making fun of them. That's just the way it was. Or once in a blue moon, I get a flat no. But a couple of them gave me a flat no. A few months later, called back and said, hey, can I get you to come? Oh, when would you like me to come? They'd tell me, I'm sorry, I'm booked that weekend. What about this weekend? I'm booked that one too. I said, here, I can tell you, you're wanting something during the summer while people are off, you're wanting to go on vacation. Yeah, I said, well, here's the ones I got open. I was telling them when I could come instead of them telling me when I could come. God can turn things around for you, but he can only do it if you'll step out of the boat. He can only do it if you don't have the fear of striking out and you get up to the plate. I had a man, Waddy Herzog told me one time, he had a guy that batted in the World Series, and they struck him out, but he never swung the bat one time. And he told him, he said, well, it must have been the Lord's will. And he goes, no, I think the Lord wants you to swing. If you take 3 good swings and strike out, I can live with that. But if you stand there with the bat on your shoulder and don't even attempt to get a hit, that bothers me. And it should. You've got to take your swings in life. You've got to take your opportunities. The storms will come in your life, and you might have to climb a mountain a little bit. You might have to step out of the boat and try to walk on the water. What do you learn from this story? The storms teach us to keep our focus on Jesus. When problems and troubles come into your life, keep your mind on the Lord. They that wait upon the Lord, he'll renew your strength. If you don't feel you have the strength to take another step, then wait on God. If you don't know what to do, if you don't know whether to go to the right, the left, or forward or back, then just stand and say, I'm not going to make a move until the Lord reveals himself to me, till I feel comfortable on what I should do. But you have to be willing to step out of the boat. When tough things in life happens, you have to trust Jesus that if I step out of the boat and I sink, then he's going to pick me up and he's going to save me. What does it say here in the Word? It says, and he said, come, and Peter got out of the boat. But seeing the winds and becoming frightened and beginning to sink, he cried out, Lord, save me. Immediately Jesus stretched out his hand, took a hold of him, and said to him, O ye of little faith, why did you doubt? And when they got into the boat, the wind stopped. And those who were in the boat worshipped him, saying, you certainly are the Son of God. The Lord saved him. So the Lord will save you. You must step out by faith once in a while and get out of the boat that's holding you and make a move. And if you start to stumble, the Lord will raise you up. And remember, in life, you'll probably fail more than you succeed. I could sit here all day and tell you people of Henry Ford went broke a couple of times trying to invent the car and get it on the market. President Grant filed bankruptcy twice. And when he was writing his memoirs, he was dying of throat cancer. And they published his memoirs he just finished them like a day or 1 or 2 days before he died, and his family was able to sell that, get a book deal, got a lot of money, and took care of his family. But he was dead broke when he died. What are you saying? I'm saying that not everything works out for people all the time, but that doesn't mean that the Lord's not sitting at the right hand of the Heavenly Father interceding for you and me. It means you struck out. It means that you're going to fail more than you succeed. But the Lord is there to lift you up if you've got the attitude to want to get out of the boat, that you want to do something for the Lord. The Lord shows us his mercy and his compassion towards us and our sufferings and the things we go through, and he will respond to them, and you can always count on the Lord. The Lord is one that you can always count on. Man will fail you. Ministers will fail you. Your wife or your husband sometimes may fail you. But God never fails. And he responds to faith. And if you've got the faith to say, Lord, let me come. If you've got the faith to step out of that boat. If you've got the faith to walk on the water. And you keep your eyes focused on him. If Peter would have kept his eyes focused on him, and if he would have just kept his mind stayed on Jesus, he would have got all the way out to him and he wouldn't have sunk. I probably would have done the same thing. Number one, I'd probably been too scared to get out of the boat, but I hope that I would. But I tell you what, I probably would have said, man, I'm walking on water, and I'd be looking around. I would have got my eyes off the Lord probably, and I would have sunk too. But the Lord was there to save him when he needed to be saved. Are you at the point where the Lord can save you? Are you at the point where you can step out of the boat and trust God? Are you at the point where you can walk towards Jesus and say, Jesus, help me. I'm trusting you, Lord. I'm getting out. I'm getting out of my comfort zone. I'm going to step out and do something. I'm not asking you to send a dime to me. I don't want none of your money. I'm not asking you to do anything for me financially. A lot of preachers on there, all they're after is your money, your money, your money. I'm not. I'm here to tell you, trust in God, step out and get out of the boat, and you'll never regret it. Now remember, please subscribe, click like, and if you would, share it with someone you go to church with, a relative or a friend, because that'll help me get the Word of God out to other people. Thank you for your time. This time, till next time, Randy says so long. I love you and have a wonderful day. And remember, trust in the Lord.